If you love working with circular needles, or if you'd like to learn how, then you'll enjoy the Autumn 2013 issue of Creative Knitting, which focuses exclusively on no-sew and circular knits. And if you think circular needles are only for working in the round, then you're in for a surprise, because they have many uses. A circular needle consists of two needles connected on each end of a flexible cable in the middle. In a pattern, you'll see a circular needle listed by size and length. Needles come as small as 12-inch cable lengths like this one, which is used for small circumference projects and can measure up to 40+ inches. In most patterns, you'll commonly see that most projects call for 16, 24, and 32-inch length cables. Traditionally, a circular needle is used for making projects in the round, such as the Turning Leaves tunic, designed by Tabitha Hedrick, which is a pullover made from the bottom up. This method of knitting in the round is also known as seamless knitting. However, because of the comfort and ease that circular needles provide, you'll find yourself wanting to use them for all your projects, from big to small, seamless and back and forth. When it comes to making a gauge swatch for seamless knitting, working a traditional back and forth swatch will not produce accurate results, because your gauge swatch should mimic the way you're making the project. So in other words, if you're knitting in the round, you need an in-the-round swatch. The process of making an in-the-round swatch can be time-consuming, but there is an easier way. In the Autumn 2013 issue of Creative Knitting, Patty Lyons shows you how in her shortcut for seamless knitting tutorial, which I'll share with you now. Let's take a look at two swatches. This first one is worked back and forth in stockinette stitch, which shows gaps, also known as rowing out, between the purl rows on the wrong side. The second swatch is an in-the-round swatch with no gaps. You can see how tight the purl side looks on this swatch compared to the back and forth swatch. These two examples clearly illustrate how different our tension is just by observing the differences on the wrong side of the work. If you have time to work a gauge swatch in the round, this would be the makings of a nice cuff for a sock or a cozy for your to-go cup. But here's an even quicker way that allows you to make a flat swatch which simulates an in-the-round gauge, which Patty calls a speed swatch. Begin by casting on the stitches needed for your gauge swatch, plus 6 additional stitches. Then knit 2 stitches through the back loops, purl 1, then knit across to the last 3 stitches. Then when you get to the last 3 stitches, purl, and then knit the next stitch through the back loop and the next stitch through the back loop. Knitting the first and last 2 stitches through the back loops will twist the stitches to keep the edges neat. The purl stitch acts as a dividing line between the edges and your gauge stitches. Now, instead of turning the work, slide all the way to the front of the needle, and then bring the yarn around from the back, so you're creating a big loop that's hanging down. And you're going to work exactly the same way that you did on the first row. And you're actually going to repeat this on every row. With each row you knit, a loop will go across the back of the work, as you can see on the back of my swatch. Then cut the loops in the back so you can lay the swatch flat to block it. So just cut those, cut the loops, and then turn it around and just kind of give a little tug on each end just to tighten those up. And now it's ready to block. So block and draw your swatch, and then simply measure between the purl stitches on each end. That wraps things up for this video, and I hope that my short speed swatch tutorial has opened a new door for you to explore alternate ways to work a gauge swatch. please visit me at creativeknittingmagazine.com/blog, where you can watch my weekly tutorials and gather invaluable tips, tricks, and knitting advice. If you'd like to share a special topic for a future tutorial, please contact me at editor@creativeknittingmagazine.com. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.